Welcome to Hour of Decision. My name is Lou Moore, and tonight we're going to talk about, for a minute, some of the words that I have in the open to this show about America having a manifest destiny, our duty to bring in the new Jerusalem of endless possibilities. What's this all about? Well, why is this language in my open? Why is that connected to America? The idea of a manifest destiny, the idea of a new Jerusalem, a city on the hill. Where did this come from? Well, I couldn't think of anybody better to help us through this than a biblical scholar, the Reverend Dr. Justin G. Prock. And I'm going to tell you about him just for a second and then bring him on. He's currently a professor and an English chaplain at Pyeongtaek University in South Korea. He spent 20 years in the United States in retail, legal, and restaurant management, but he went on to get a PhD in biblical studies and eschatology and a master's degree in divinity at Louisiana Baptist University. And then in 2023, he was ordained as a reverend in the General Assembly of the Presbyterian Church, where he's residing now in Korea. He's written a bunch of books, and I want to talk for a minute before I let him go in this segment of Hour of Decision about his books. But there's something else, folks. Uh, Dr. Prock takes biblical study up to a new level, in my opinion, and a new level of common sense, among other things, in the way he approaches it. But I want to bring him into this conversation. Dr. Prock, thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Lou. Please call me Justin.
Oh, thank you. Very well, I'll do it. So, Justin, why does America have a manifest destiny? And what connection to America can we draw from the Bible, from your scholarship uh, related to the Bible?
You know, it took a long time to get to this point to figure out who true Israel was. Everybody, probably 99.9% of all of Christianity, whatever that is and however you define that, basically looks at the state of Palestine as Israel of the Bible. And that is not true, because when you study secular history, basically biblical history ends with the majority of the house of Israel and 200 walled cities of the house of Judah being taken from 745 BC to 676 BC by the Assyrians, and they're gone. Only 42,000 pure Judahites come out of the Babylonian captivity. So secular history picks up where all the house of Israel and the majority of the house of Judah went, north and west of Palestine, according to the biblical prophecies. And as they meandered their way through, they went through the Caucasus Mountains, hence we became known as Caucasians. We ended up in Western Europe, Eastern Europe, Russia, the British Isles, and America. Now, where this gets into who is who, the majority of the ensigns that you see on the flags and everything else match up with the ensigns of ancient biblical, the 12 tribes of Israel. And then when you get to England and America especially, when you take a look at Joseph's two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, when Jacob blessed them, he blessed the younger first. And he blessed Ephraim first and then Manasseh. Ephraim was going to be basically a commonwealth of nations, and Manasseh was going to be a great nation. Now, when you take a look at who we are today, you can add basically the 2,520 years of the 7 times judgment from the Assyrian captivities to the present, and you come up with the years 1800 for England and 1776 for America. So since then, America and England have prospered, Britain being first, and then America. And so America is in Bible prophecy, and she does represent Israel, as does England. So that is where secular history has taken off. But a lot of Christians and pastors, especially, don't agree with that for
Yeah,
whatever reason.
yeah, I can imagine many of them don't. But let me ask you this:
Sure.
was some of this knowledge around, let's say, at the time of the founders? In other words, I know that Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson, both of whom were considered by a lot of people to be free thinkers than to be Christians, were wanting on the and some of the symbolism that they were creating for the new country. They wanted it to be the symbolism of Israel, with a pillar by day and a pillar by night, walking through the turmoil and trials that they had that were depicted in the Old Testament, having that to be one of the symbols of our new country on the seal of the United States. So, did they just make that up? Did they just decide to put that on there, or were
You
they
know,
operating with a little bit of knowledge?
I think the majority, especially the pilgrims, knew who they were that came over. You basically had the people who believed in a new Atlantis come over, along with those who knew that we were Israel. So you have half and half. You have um, the free thinkers, the deists. I've read a lot of history on our founding fathers, and a lot of them come from Masonic backgrounds and stuff. Did they believe that we were true Israel and what they were fulfilling was manifest destiny? Some say yes, some say no, but the religious people that came over basically believed that they were Israel, especially with the Pilgrims and the Mayflower Compact when you read the document with regard to that. So, you know, um, fast forward to today, I do believe that we are Israel. We are the Israel people. Um, we're not we're basically a group of what I would call Western Christendom, and that is basically what we are. Different varieties of Christians.
Yeah, well, it's interesting how over the history of this country, and we talk a lot on this show about the Fabians, the gradual conspiracy to give
Right,
us total government in this country. And I think everybody knows that the antidote to that is the limited government that's prescribed in the Constitution. But of course,
right.
the founders told us, every single one of them, that only a virtuous people could have self-government and could keep a constitution and keep a constitutional republic. And so I guess what I'm asking you is uh, what is the connection between Western civilization and Western Christianity and the founding of this country and America as it should be?
Basically, if you follow where the Bible translation went, when it went from Hebrew to Greek to Latin to German and ultimately to English,
Justin, I'm
right?
going to
And
stop you for a second.
yeah.
You're a little bit too close to your
Oh,
camera, I
my.
think. Yeah, if you're
Okay.
back there, it's perfect. Sorry about that.
Okay. Very good. Sorry about that.
No
So
worries.
basically,
We
basically,
produce on the fly on this show. Go ahead.
that's okay. No worries. Yeah, I'm used to that. So basically, when you see where the Bible went, when you see where the Reformation went, where you see Christianity go, it didn't go all over the place. It basically ended up in England. And then when you see basically the two witnesses, which I consider to be England and America, where 95% of all missionaries came from, went out into the world, and you see that the great work that we did, but at the same time, you see the flip side of that, as you were talking about. Have we turned into Babylon?
Oops.
Yes, have we? And remember, the beast, with regard, and I'm going off a little topic from your question, but 10 and 2, 10 always represent the northern kingdom, and the 2 represent the southern kingdom. Well, the beast in the end has 10 horns and 2 horns, right? So who are they? Is it America, and is it fake Israel over in Palestine? Because it comes up out of the land. What land? The land that belonged to God, right? And still does belong to God. Is that a possibility? So that's something I've always pondered. I know it's not the European nations coming back up again and all that again. But, the problem is that America has become Babylonian. And who went into Babylon? The house of Judah. Who stayed there? And who became the Pharisees, the Sadducees, who became Judaism, right? And rabbinism. So basically, you have this red beast that is scarlet red in the end with 10 horns. That what is red in the Bible? It's Esau, Edom. And so, we have been taken over, I believe, as a government, So that's kind of where my research has taken me presently, maybe a little bit different from what you think, as far as secret societies and everything else. But I look at who is behind the secret society. So
Interesting. Very, very interesting. So, want to back on the topic we started with.
yeah,
Uh, so, biblical law was that an influence on the founders in the Constitution?
I think so. I think Greco-Roman law, uh, more so than biblical law. Um, but I believe, to a certain extent, of course, English common law was based on it as well. So I think it was a combination of everything, you know.
Sure.
But biblical law, I mean, who's going to go out and stone their kid? I think, we probably wouldn't have problems with children if some parents took the kids outside the East Gate and said, hey, okay, stone him. He's bad. And everybody else would fall in the line, right? I say that jokingly, but I mean, that's what they used to do in the old days, right?
Careful now, Dr. Brock.
I know.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know.
Got it.
I know. I'm speaking to America. Very liberal now.
Yeah, it is very liberal here. Although we've had a few changes over here recently. You might have
Oh,
heard.
I've noticed that Trump's kicked out quite a few people so far. So, he's cleaning things up.
It seems like that he is. So so I'll just get right to this question. If it's true that America's destiny is foretold in the Bible, that America is a piece, a part of what we call biblical prophecy. As Christians, are we supposed to just kind of sit back and watch the show unfold?
In Obadiah, let me get my Bible out. Septuagint version is what I use, which is what Jesus Christ and the disciples based the New Testament on. In Obadiah, yeah, yeah,
Hang on, Justin, hang on. So
yeah.
it's all good, but why don't you tell us a little bit about the Septuagint? I don't think too many folks in my audience are using the Septuagint Bible.
Oh, okay. The
Maybe they should
Septuagint,
be. I'm
yes.
not saying they shouldn't.
Well, they should, because the Septuagint Bible was written before Jesus Christ. It was
Uh-huh.
written by 72 Israelites and it was commissioned by Ptolemy Philadelphus II. around 272 BC or so, somewhere around there.
Uh-huh.
And basically, the Bible was completed around 130 BC. So that's the Bible that all the people had at that time, and it pointed to all of the Bible prophecies with regard to Jesus Christ being the Messiah.
So
And it
the
had,
Septuagint is only the Old Testament.
yes, it's
For
only the
those of
Greek
us that
Old
need a
Testament.
very simple explanation of these things. But
Yes, yes,
okay.
that's the very
Anyway, go
simple.
ahead. You were talking
Yeah,
about Obadiah. I didn't mean to interrupt,
yeah,
but I just
yeah, no worries. And in Obadiah, since you're talking about, let me find it. Hold on just a second. Da, 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 da. I have it marked, but all right, Obadiah. So you want to know, should we be sitting on our hands and laying this watch? According to Obadiah in verse 18, it says, "And the house of Jacob shall possess those who possess them. And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau shall be a stubble. And upon these they shall kindle and consume them, so that there shall not be a torchbearer to the house of Esau, for the Lord hath spoken." Now, if we are, if the Western Christian nations are the house of Jacob, complete house of Jacob, and the house of Joseph is America and England, somehow I think that that applies to us, and we are the fire and the flame, and we totally destroy Esau, Edom. And remember, throughout the Bible, it says it twice at least, God loved Jacob and he hated Esau.
mm-hmm.
Okay, so God
Interesting.
hates, and that's the problem with modern Christianity too, is, oh, Jesus is love. Well, I'm sorry, but Jesus only talked about love maybe 2 or 3 times, and he talked more about hell and damnation. So, you know,
Accountability. But so
so as
huh.
Christians, I I firmly believe, number one, we need to study, find out who we are, and then once we find out who we are, act according to the law, because God didn't, the law was not nailed to the cross, the ordinances were. Okay. So if we follow God's law, we're going to be blessed wherever we're at, both nationally and personally.
So the Supreme Court of the United States, not any Supreme Court that we've dealt with in my lifetime, but I think 1892 was the last time they ruled that America was, in fact, a Christian nation. Are you familiar with any of those? These were legal decisions based upon evidence, based upon the facts of the matter as to what, as to the identity of the United States.
I'm familiar with the modern uh, court decisions that took God out of our country from the
Yeah,
60s on forward. So,
yeah.
you know,
Things went downhill fast at that point, did they not? From that point forward.
yes.
Yeah,
Well,
we're
and
going to
that's
talk.
where our culture went down. Think about this. When we take a look at, who caused World War I, World War II, basically you have Christian nations against Christian nations, white people against white people. Who got killed? White people. Though that generation, each generation, and besides, let me back up, World War I and World War II were our 30 years war. Okay. And so what happens? You basically kill and murder Christians because they're going out thinking they're fighting a good war, which is nothing but a banker's war. Then you have Korea and Vietnam, and that pushes us over the edge. When they dropped the bomb on Nagasaki, Nagasaki was the Christian center of Japan. It dropped directly on a church. Pyongyang in North Korea was the Christian center of Korea. And now Korea is not Christian anymore, hardly. Okay. Japan is 0.02% Christian because of that. So all throughout, the people who are behind the wars have destroyed Christianity along the way, along with the Supreme Court. You know, and who was put on the Supreme Court? Who were the justices? Right?
Yeah, well, I mean, the court that did the most damage, there's been a lot of cases that were not good. But when Earl Warren became the Chief Justice and two or three others joined him at that point in the 50s, it's when it went 24/7
Sure.
destruction of America.
Yeah.
So Justin, with the time we have left, that you brought this up earlier, talking about studying the law, I found I got a hold of your book.
Thank you.
This one, oh my God, it's rather in the era where people don't even read. This is quite a challenge. However, the way you approach in such a logical fashion how to get at the truth that's in the Bible is pretty amazing to me. And so I'd like you to talk just for a minute about people who are truth seekers, who are seeking to do the will of God, who have questions about things they've read in the Bible or questions about reading the Bible because they haven't read the Bible. So just if you could talk about all of that in the couple of minutes that we have left. I mean, it's just, I think you have just done so much for people who are seeking the truth in the way you've approached this topic and the thoroughness that you prosecuted it.
Well, that was basically thank you very much for your kind words. That was basically the thesis to my MDiv. Who, why did Father Yahweh say what he said, and why did his son Yeshua say what they said? Basically, I went through topic by topic, trying to figure out, okay, how do you define Bible prophecy? What's the proper way of doing it? Does the law still apply? And then the different eschatological things that we have yet, have they been completed from a historical point of view? What are the different things that we're looking at? Are we going to be raptured? Are we going to be translated instead? When does the resurrection happen? And all these different topics, I just kind of went through and quoted directly what did God say in Father Yahweh, and what did his son say, Yeshua, and I quoted them, and I said, look at, and especially the biggest one is Matthew 15:24. I came not only, but only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And that's the stickler. That, from a legal point of view, basically says, this is my command, and this is who I'm going to, and that's who he
Justin,
sent.
I'm going to interrupt you
Yeah.
because we're out of time,
Oh,
which
wow.
means I'm going to have to invite you back because we have more
Okay.
to talk about.
Very good. I'd be
But
happy to.
Justin, quick, give us a website, email. How do we reach you?
You can reach me at it's dr and then justinprock.com on the website. You can reach me at Gmail at dr and then justingprock.com at Dr. Justin G. Proc at gmail.com.